good Christians on a Sunday. And then you have true Christians. Now, I learned this when I became friends with this one family of true Christians. Not only did they go to church on Sunday, but they also practice, not practice, but they follow the guidelines of the Bible every day of the week. They treat everyone equally. They are very kind, polite, respectful people. They don't lie. They don't steal. They don't cheat. They don't swear. They don't need to punish their children because their children are very, very well raised, very polite, respectful children. They homeschooled their children for a long time, and then put them into Christian school, and they were such wonderful people, and I miss them immensely. I do. I miss them immensely. Such a wonderful family, and they had like 8 kids, and the oldest is a couple of years older than my oldest daughter. One of their youngest is around the age of my son, and he's, oh goodness, 16 maybe? No, 14, 15. I can't remember how old my son is. Huge long story. I have 2 daughters and a son. I have had absolutely no contact with my younger daughter and my son for, oh goodness, quite a number of years. It's been almost 15 years. No. I can't even remember. And it's thanks to their father. Mainly because, well, partially thanks the biggest reason is because of their father. Well, no, actually the biggest reason is because of the Ministry for Children and Family Development. And they're also known as CPS down in the United States, Child Protective Services. But that's also based on what their father did, their biological father, my ex-husband. He spent 9 years, 8-9 years, something like that, in prison for CP. First word is child. I'm not going to say the other word. For making CP. And with our daughter, when they figure she was 2 years old. I don't know all of the details because I was not allowed in the courtroom when it was going on, when it was in court. It was a huge thing in the town that we were living in. When he was arrested and this was all going on, it was after I had left. I left him. We got a divorce. And he was actually granted temporary custody. Well, he was granted sole interim custody of our 2 children because he owned his own home. He owned the trailer that we bought when we were together. We were actually engaged when we bought a trailer together. But he had a stable job, working 6 days a week, I was on disability. No, I wasn't on disability at that time. I was on regular income assistance. And yeah, so anyways, long story short, he was granted temporary custody, and I was fighting that in court. I had issues with my lawyer. But anyways, so yeah, he our divorce, with our divorce and all that stuff. So anyways, yeah, he had temporary custody, but he and I, we made arrangements between the two of us. We actually were better off as friends than we were as a couple. We had, excuse me, we had actually known each other for quite a number of years before we dated. His mom was actually really good friends with my mom. So when we were little and my mom was still alive, his mom at that point in time was a single mom, raising him by himself, just the two of them. And she would come over, she would bring him over to our place, and and he'd play with us. Well, my sister and I. He's the same age as my sister, if I remember correctly. My memory is not the greatest. But yeah, he was like my age, my sister's age. My sister's a year and a half, about a year and a half older than I am. So yeah, he's somewhere in there in age. But anyways, so yeah, we used to play together when we were little, really little. My mom, she passed away when she was 40. A month before I turned 10, she passed away. So yeah, so I never saw him again until high school, when we were both in high school. So yeah, he is a year or two older than I am. That's right. Yeah. So anyways, we actually had similar friends in high school. Go figure. We had some of the same friends in high school. So we hung out a little bit in high school. And when my mom was still alive, all those years back, when I was really little, she was a member of this group called TOPS, TOPS, which stands for Take Off Pounds Sensibly. So it was a weight loss group. Well, his mom and my mom were both members of that group. They also were both members of a group called Kinets. There's it's the like the wives of kinsmen. The kinsmen is a group. My dad was a member of Kinsmen for quite a number of years, and my mom was a member of the Kinets. They're like a non-profit organization, well, like the Lions Club. I keep wanting to say Illuminati, but they're not the Illuminati. Shriners, yeah, they would raise money for special, for like different things. there's also the Knights of Pythias, and the Pythian sisters, is like the sisters of the Knights of Pythias. But like men are allowed to join the Pythian sisters as well. I was a member of the Pythian sisters when I started dating my ex-husband. I was still a member when we got married and I had my daughter. After I had our daughter, I stopped. I dropped down to the Pythian sisters because she had health issues that I had to focus on and spent a lot of time on dealing with. I was constantly having to, for the first year of her life, I would have to take her to Vancouver to see specialists because when she was born with her shoulder got stuck during birth, which damaged the nerves in her shoulder and elbow. So I was doing physiotherapy exercises with her daily. We also discovered when she was 3 months old that she has what's known as a bifid uvula. Now, the uvula is that little dangly thing in the back of your throat. Well, a normal one is shaped like a teardrop. Hers, unfortunately, is shaped, has a little divot. It has a little divot in the, has a little, little, like they look like bum cheeks. That's the easiest way for me to describe it. It looks like bum cheeks, which causes issues with suction when nursing or bottle feeding. So it turned out she was actually burning more calories than she was taking in when nursing or bottle feeding. So I had to completely stop nursing, and I had to get special nipples for her bottles that were the super soft fast flow, so that she didn't even have to really suck to get her for her formula. So anyways, I know I went off on a tangent, didn't I? Yes, I did. So anyways, yeah, my daughter, lots of health issues. But yeah, her father, my ex-husband, when she was 4 and a half, and her brother was almost a year old, I left him. I wasn't happy in our marriage. I didn't want to be with him anymore. It was irreconcilable differences. Irreconcilable differences? Anyways, so I moved across the country. Like, literally moved across the country. I loaded all 3 kids into the van. I rented a U-Haul trailer, filled it with a bunch of stuff, and moved from British Columbia, Canada to Ontario, Canada. And it took 10 days of driving to get there. And that was because the reason it took that long was because I, with 3 kids, had to stop periodically throughout the day, change diapers, because 2 of them were still in diapers. Well, the 2 youngest were still in diapers. Had 2 cats with us in a Westphalia Vanagon van. So it's a camper van. Volkswagen van. So yeah, would have to stop periodically to check on the kids, make sure they were okay and they had food and all that stuff. Plus, my daughter, my little girl, because of her bifid uvula, she suffered from motion sickness. So periodically I would have to give her Gravol. But by the age of 4, she was actually doing a lot better with it. Didn't get as nauseous as she used to when she was younger. So anyways, moved across Canada. Ran into issues in Ontario, and after being out there for less than a month, their father decided to file for custody. For a few reasons that I'm not going to get into, that I might get into in a later video. But anyways, I just remembered what I was talking about. That, yeah, anyways, so anyways, yeah, he, with me being in a different province, I was supposed to be granted 30 days to respond or something like that, because of being in a different province. Well, I was not given enough time to respond. Instead, the judge granted him sole interim custody. So the Ministry for Children and Family Development, or CPS in the States, they paid for a plane ticket for him to fly to Toronto, Ontario, and social workers brought our 2 little ones to the airport and met up with him, and then he flew back with the kids. So yeah, this was before anything was known about what he had done already. Apparently he had already done the dirty deed by that point, before I even left him. And I had no clue. I did not know that this had happened at all. I did not know. Didn't find out until, like, oh god, about a year later. Something like that. Anyways, so he, was granted custody. The day that he picked up the kids at the airport in Toronto was the day that I finally got a lawyer for this custody case. And the lawyer was back in BC. Well, I spoke to her on the phone that day, and then I didn't hear from her again for 3 months. I kept trying to contact her. I kept trying to call her, but there was never an answer. I never got, she never called me back. I'd leave voicemail messages. No, she would not call. She never called me back. I was at my wit's end, and with everything else that was going on for me in Ontario, I packed up my stuff, my oldest girl and we packed up our stuff. We put our stuff into, we had made friends in Ontario, and we left most of our stuff in their care, and made arrangements. We were gonna get our stuff shipped back later. We were actually gonna move to Alberta and get a place, and I was gonna get a job and all this stuff, but things fell through there, and we ended up back in BC, back at my dad's. Excuse me. And before I even heard back from my lawyer. And it turned out, oh well, there was a family emergency, and I was gone for 3 months. 3 months this was going on. He had custody, basically full custody of our 2 children for 3 months by this time. Our 4-year-old daughter was still in diapers because I never got a chance to I never got a chance to properly potty train her because of everything that was going on. During the time that I was in Ontario, CPS took the kids and put them into foster care, and the foster parents weren't trying very hard on potty training her. They knew, I don't know if the foster parents even knew about her having to get daily physiotherapy exercises done for her arm, due to her injury at birth, which is called Erb's palsy, different from Bell's palsy. So yeah, it was called Erb's palsy. They were supposed to do daily physiotherapy exercises with her. When her father got custody of her, he did not do any of those physiotherapy exercises with her because he didn't know what to do. He didn't know what exercises to do because I was the one that took care of those exercises. We had, before I left him, we had a lady that came twice a week to the house to go over the physiotherapy exercises, for me to go over the exercises with her, and record the progress of how she was doing with her mobility, plus going to Vancouver to see a plastic surgeon to do with her arm. And he only came with us once. Only once did he actually come with us to Vancouver. He was more focused on his job and bringing in money than he was in having anything to do with the physiotherapy exercises that our daughter required. And the ministry was not helping it either. They were constantly, I guess you could say they were constantly looking over my shoulder and going behind my back and talking to my dad about what was going on with my children and stressing me out, making my life miserable. I couldn't take care of my kids properly because of the stress, the worry, constant worry that I might do something that would cause them to take my kids away. Well, they supported my ex-husband 100% in him getting custody of the kids. They helped him because he did not have a driver's license. He didn't drive. He walked. He walked everywhere. Well, he couldn't really leave the kids home alone while he worked because of his job they helped, he got a bicycle. They helped him get a bike trailer, because his work required him to be, he would go to bed at 6 o'clock at night. He would be up at midnight to be at work at 1 a.m. He couldn't have the kids at home because there was nobody there. So the ministry helped find him someone that could have the kids overnight, 5 nights a week. They would not do Saturday nights. No, they did not do Sunday nights because he did not work Sunday mornings. Sunday was the only day that he had off from work. So, because it was the one day that the bakery that he worked at was not open. So Sunday night was the only night that he couldn't take the kids to the babysitters. So he had made arrangements with my dad and with a friend of mine. Well, first it was a friend of mine would come over to his place and she would sleep in the lazy boy recliner Sunday night. Well, one night she came over and she slipped and fell on the ice in front of his place. Had to go to the hospital. Because of her health condition, because of her falling, they discovered that her cancer had come back, and so it was really bad. So then the arrangements went to, my parents would pick the kids up and from his place Sunday night, and the kids would sleep at my parents' place Sunday night, and then Monday morning they would take the kids back to his place in the morning. And our son, our daughter was in kindergarten, our son was in daycare, like preschool. So yeah, my ex-husband got a bike trailer. The ministry helped him get a bike trailer so he would be able to pick them up from the babysitters during the week in the morning, and he would drop them off in the evening. The kids never had a bike helmet on in the bike trailer. They were never strapped in the bike trailer. Quite often our son was dropped off at the babysitters without extra diapers. There were times he'd show up with a dirty diaper on, and a lot of times their hair was a mess and they had dirty faces and dirty clothes. And I was getting told this from the babysitter herself. So I'm not making any of this up. This was just I have never had a reason to make any of this stuff, make up any lies or stories or whatever to make him look like a bad parent. He did it on his own. He was not good with kids. He was not very good with other people. He was always very shy, quiet, very antisocial, huge introvert. He had issues talking to women, especially. It was easy for him to talk with me because we had known each other for so long. Plus, I initiated a lot of stuff in our relationship. His mom always told, like, she told him several times, like, she'd love to see him settle down with someone like me, because she knew me a lot, quite well. Because when I was a member of the Pythian Sisters, she was also a member of the Pythian Sisters. So yeah, she had known my mom. They had been friends for a long time. So she had known me over the years. He knew me over the years. She liked me a lot, and I was close to his age. And she wanted to see her son get married and settle down and have kids of his own. She suffered from multiple sclerosis, and she had had a quadruple bypass at one time. But yeah, at least she got to see her son get married and settle down and have a family. She did get to meet her granddaughter, our daughter, but she passed away not long after, so she never got to meet her grandson, which is unfortunate because he was always such a happy little boy. Such a happy little boy. Our daughter, on the other hand, when she was a baby, she was a very serious baby. She very, very rarely smiled. In that regard, she was a lot like her father. He wasn't much for smiling. But when she did get a little bit older, the smiles. You could not get that girl to stop smiling, and she was super friendly. Very outgoing. Exact opposite of her father. Such a sweet little girl with beautiful little red ringlets. Hair. Her hair was strawberry blonde. Red. I don't know. But yeah, it was. And ringlets. Oh God, she had curly hair. Yeah. But she was always such a happy little girl. Yeah, but yeah. Then after I moved back from Ontario and got into a place of my own, I got moved into a 1-bedroom apartment. My oldest girl and I. We were in the 1-bedroom apartment for a month. While we waited for, there was a 2-bedroom apartment in the same building that we were going to move into as soon as those tenants moved out. So we ended up in the 1-bedroom apartment for a month, and then the 2-bedroom apartment that we were supposed to move into turned out that it was actually promised to a couple that were in in another 2-bedroom apartment in the building, which happened to be right across the hall from my 1-bedroom apartment. So they and the 2-bedroom that the 2-bedroom apartment that they moved into was right above theirs. So they moved upstairs, and as soon as they were done moving upstairs, we moved across the hall. And I actually had a friend that lived in the same building with her. She was living in a 2-bedroom apartment with 4 kids. Yeah. With her 4 kids. And but I would have I had made arrangements with my ex-husband so that I could have one of our kids come each week, would alternate each week. I can't remember how long I was in that apartment for. Was in that apartment for several months until I was finally able to make arrangements to get the rest of our stuff from Ontario. As soon as our stuff arrived from Ontario, there was no room in the apartment for anything. You could barely move around in it. There was so much stuff. So ended up moving from there into a trailer. It was a 3-bedroom trailer with an addition and an extension, or something like that. So it was a decent size. So then the two younger kids, they had a room to share. My oldest girl, she had her own room, and then I had my room, and everything else went out into the addition, one of the additions. Well, there was an addition on either side. And when living there, I was able to have both kids come, and they would stay one night a week at my place. They would stay on the Sunday night. And they loved it. They loved it. Now, because I had a vehicle, I would actually go over to my ex-husband's and pick up the kids to take them over to the babysitters, rather than him have to bike across town. Because, yeah, he liked going to bed at 5 o'clock at night. But his bedtime schedule, normally he would go to bed at 6, so that he could be up at midnight for work. But he couldn't, because of how far he would have to ride his bike to transport the kids to the babysitters, which was across town, he couldn't drop them off earlier at night so that he could be in bed by 6. he couldn't have the kids at the babysitter's until 6 o'clock. So, yeah. So it was just easier and more convenient for me to pick up the kids from his place shortly before 6 so that he could go to bed. And I would drop them off at the babysitter's because the babysitter's was just actually not too far from where I lived. And then I would, and then, yeah, so then I would drop the kids off at the babysitter's. Anyways, I guess I'll just tell you more at another date, because I'm all done. This whole section is all done. And it's been just over an hour and a half of me just rambling on. And yeah, I went off track because I know I was talking about what the Hales and what they were going through, and then went into talking about my kids and my ex-husband and LawTube. Yes, I wanted to talk about LawTube. But anyways, that will be it for this video. I will do another whip and chat at a later date. Do another video later, I guess. We'll see how things go. And until then, please like and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Leave a comment. And don't forget about the notification bell. Please hit the notification bell so you will be notified the next time I upload a video. And until then, talk to you later. Bye.